Prisoners running out of prison or coming out on bail has become quite common news nowadays. But there are certain prisons that if someone goes inside them for once, they hold no chance to come outside. In this video, we are going to share with you the 10 most secure prisons in the world. That ensures your safety in a free world. On number 1 we have ADX Florence, USA. ADX Florence is the safest jail in the United States. This prison is made to hold the most dangerous criminals, the ones the government never wants them to be free again. It is in the middle of nowhere in Colorado. It's called the Alcatraz of the Rockies because it's so hard to get out of here. People who are in prison are locked up 24 hours a day in small rooms made of concrete with steel doors. Thin walls keep people from seeing each other. There are no bars. You can't tell where they are because their only opening is a small hole in the wall. Some of the worst criminals in history have been locked up in this jail. Brutal terrorists, drug lords, and well-known gang bosses. This is where Ted Kaczynski, El Chapo, and some 9/11 suspects have been locked up. When prisoners get their hour of freedom, they are taken to a small, empty concrete yard where they can't talk to any other convicts. They are meant to stay where they are and not get away or cause trouble. The guards in there don't mess around. Every little thing is being watched, managed, and thought out. If a prisoner gets out of line, they will be stopped right away. Some people say it's like a clean hell. 2. La Santé, France. Since it opened in 1867, it has been home to some of France's most notable criminals, political prisoners, and even spies. It is right in the middle of Paris. No matter how nice the name La Santé sounds, this place has a terrible past. People have known for years that it was very hard there. People who were locked up were kept in small, dark cells and had very little or no touch with the outside world. Some inmates went crazy because they were locked up alone. It was so hard to stay in jail that in 2000, dozens of people tried to kill themselves by drinking cleaning products. But they were just moved to a different prison. The part with the death row, where people were put to death by guillotine until the 1970s, was one of the scariest parts. They are real guillotines. La Santé's walls would have some scary things to tell if they could talk. The jail changed over time. It closed for a while in 2014 to get major repairs done. It will return in 2019 with better conditions. 3. Tadmor, Syria. People were afraid of Syria's Tadmor jail more than any other jail in the world. It wasn't just a jail where criminals were kept. It was a workshop for nightmares. This prison in the middle of the desert was a sign of fear when Hafez al-Assad and then his son Bashar al-Assad were in charge of Syria. Not only thieves and killers were sent there, but also many political prisoners, those who tried to speak out against the government or were just thought to be enemies. It was a matter of luck to stay alive once you got inside. Not only did the guards punish, they also abused. People were often beaten, starved, and put to horrible deaths. Prisoners were always afraid because they didn't know if they'd live to see another morning. 1980 was one of the worst years in Tadmor's history. After someone tried to kill Hafez al-Assad, his troops got back at them. Soldiers broke into the jail and killed hundreds, maybe even 1,000, people in cold blood. Tadmor was a place of horrors for many years until it was shut down in 2001. That was until ISIS took it over in 2015 and blew it up. They erased the walls, but not the terrible past. Even now, the word Tadmor makes Syrians very scared. 4. Black Dolphin, Russia. One of the hardest and scariest jails in Russia is Black Dolphin Prison. Not just a jail, but a fortress where the worst criminals are locked up for good. Killers, terrorists, serial killers, you name it, they are in there. There's been no escape. This place looks like it came from a nightmare. It is built close to the border with Kazakhstan. The prisoners never get to see the sun outside their cells. They live in very small rooms with only a bed connected to the wall and not much else. It's always on, and guards check on them every 15 minutes. They have no privacy, no freedom, and no way to get out. They are also blindfolded, chained, and forced to walk through the halls while bent over at a 90-degree angle every time they leave their cells, so that they can't remember the plan and can't even think about getting away. Food in there is just bread and soup. Only an hour of workout a day in a cage is allowed. Prisoners there can only talk when they are told to. Not only is this a jail, but time stops here. Fifth prison in Qincheng, China. In this jail, you will mostly find political prisoners, corrupt officials, and powerful people who lost their way. This is a real place in the woods close to Beijing. Since 1958, it has been there. It was built with help from the Soviet Union. It is highly guarded, making it nearly impossible to get out. The prisoners here are kept in the strictest security, and some have been locked up alone for years. Some rooms have guards who watch over them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. How you live in Qincheng depends on your rank. Prisoners with more power might get better food, more comfortable surroundings, and even some books to read. Other people are not so lucky. Some news stories say that inmates spend years in tiny cells that don't get much sunlight and don't get to talk to other people much. Many well-known Chinese leaders, officials, and even thinkers have been locked up here over the years, especially during times of political unrest. 6. The UK's HMP Belmarsh. Some of the most dangerous crooks, terrorists, and well-known prisoners in the country are locked up there. You can think of it as the UK's version of a high-security castle, with thick walls, strict rules, and close watch on everyone. When it first opened in 1991, Belmarsh was meant to house regular prisoners. But over time, it became the prison of choice for treating serious cases. People sometimes call it Britain's Guantanamo Bay because of how bad it is known to be. People who are seen as big threats are kept there, such as terrorists, gang leaders, and even spies. But not every prisoner is a violent criminal. Some are there while they wait to be tried for major crimes. Some of the safest places in the country are in Belmarsh. A special area of the jail is called the Belmarsh High Security Unit. This is where the most dangerous prisoners are kept. It's pretty much a jail inside a prison. Over the years, some famous people have been locked up there, such as Julian Assange, the father of WikiLeaks, radical religious leaders, and notorious criminals. Even though the prison has a bad image for being tough, it still has programs for education and rehabilitation. 7. Singapore's Changi Prison. The past of Singapore's Changi Prison is long and dark. Before World War II, it was built in 1936 as a modern jail. But when the Japanese took over, it turned into something much worse. It is a place where people suffer. Japan took over Singapore in 1942 and turned Changi into a prisoner of war, POW camp. There, they crammed thousands of British, Australian, and local soldiers into awful, crowded circumstances. People didn't have enough food, diseases spread, and a lot of prisoners were mistreated. The prisoners were very strong, even though the conditions were terrible. To keep their spirits up, they set up hidden schools, smuggled medicine, and even made art and plays. Some people quietly wrote down what happened, which later helped everyone understand what was going on inside those walls. After some time, it grew to be Singapore's best maximum security jail, known for its strict rules and famous prisoners. The old jail was torn down in 2004 to make room for the new, high-tech Changi Jail Complex. The Changi Chapel and Museum, which is part of the old prison, still stands today to remember the people who suffered there. 8. The Port Louis, Ireland. When it was first built in the 1830s, it was just a regular prison. But as Ireland dealt with wars and growing crime, it was changed into a maximum security prison. This place is very safe. There are armed police officers, watchtowers, and many other layers of protection around the area to keep anyone from doing anything wrong. The Irish Defence Forces, which are basically the troops, are helping to keep it safe. Prisoners are kept inside under very strict rules. There are strict rules about meetings, and people can't move around much. There is no chance for anyone to get away from here. In recent times, no one has been able to break out, and anyone who tried would be seriously crazy. It has been home to some famous criminals over the years, such as IRA members and the leaders of big crime groups. 9. Prison Kresty, Russia. It's one of the most famous and feared prisons in the country's past. It was built in St. Petersburg in the late 1800s and was meant to hold about 1,150 prisoners at first. Things didn't go as planned, though, as they often do in Russian history. Over the years, it got incredibly busy, with up to 10,000 prisoners at times. It was like being locked up in a small cell with a lot of other people with very little room to move. But Kresty was actually a beautiful piece of architecture, despite all the scary stories. Because it was built in a cross shape, it was called Kresty, which in Russian means crosses. It was one of the strangest jails in the world. The prison was closed for good in the early 2010s, and the inmates were moved to a new facility. Today, Kresty sits as a reminder of Russia's terrible past. 10. Iran's Evin Prison. This prison has a bad past and is in Tehran, the capital. When it was built in 1972, it was meant to be a normal jail. But over the years, it was used to lock up political prisoners, journalists, activists, and even regular people who were accused of speaking out against the government. There are more than just bars and cells in this jail. There is fear. People who go there often don't come back for months or even years, leaving their families to wonder what happened. Many inmates have told scary stories about being tortured, being locked up alone, and living in terrible conditions. People have called it the Evin University because so many thinkers, students, and journalists are locked up there. Even though it has a bad image, Evin has also seen brave people who wouldn't keep quiet. Human rights groups have tried to show what goes on inside Iran for years, but the government keeps a tight grip on things. Even during protests in 2022, a lot of people were taken there. Which of these prisons do you feel is secure of all? Tell us in the comment section below. If you enjoyed watching the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.